So I'm just going to do a little bit about stairs. This is the component stair to a sketch-based stair that I tried to do in class and didn't work very well. I've discovered some weird behavior with the stairs, and they have changed the rules again on stairs. Component-based, converting them to sketch-based does elicit some weird results. So the general advice is that if you are creating a stair by component and you want to give it sketch-based functionality, you use this option. So stair by component, and then you use this option. Okay, create sketch. So that's going to basically, if you're not familiar with the old ways, they don't really work that well with the new stair creation method since 2013, and they have been tweaked 2014 and 2015. So it seems to push you down the route of the component based, but that is somewhat limited. So we have to use this option within the component based stair creation. But let's say we create a component based stair and we want to edit it. I'll show you some of the things that I've discovered. So we'll have a stair that goes, this is 4 meters high from floor to floor, so we'll put it in this sort of hole. So I'll go to my level 0, and I've got my overlay on my level 0 plan. So I'll just go to, let's close that down for a second so we can see that we're in our floor plan view. So I hit escape, so I've got nothing selected. And I've got my underlay as level 1, so that means we can see the hole. And there's a beam coming across here as well, so we've got to be careful of that, but the hole does cut just in front of it. And we're going to put a stair in that's, if I use the stair, we'll have this cast in place concrete one. I'll use the I'll use center. I'll keep it as a meter, but I'll put some guidelines in first. So we'll just show you how that can work. So I'll just close this down for a second. Model line is what I want. That's on the architecture tab. So click on model line. Placement plane is level 0. I'll use this pick lines function in the draw command box and set an offset 500. And then I can offset that and offset this and offset that. So this is kind of giving me a center line of my meter wide stair. Now I could offset it slightly more because give me a bit more tolerance at the edge, but for the purpose of this, that can be adjusted later. This is a shaft opening, so again could be adjusted after the event. So now we go back to the stair. A meter wide, level 0 to level 1. It's 4 meters up, 24 steps. So I'm going to start from the back. So this is where it's going to alight, as it were, to arrive. And then we'll come back this way and I'll flip it, so because this is going to be where it starts effectively when I draw it, and it's going to end down here somewhere, but then I flip it over so it finishes up at this point, if that makes sense. So I'm going to start off by dragging it down there. My run center means that the center of the meter wide stair is lining up with this edge. So I'll pop in 12 created. I'll come over to this side and I'll drag in down to that point. So there's my steps. So 0 to 12 and 13 to 24. So flip it. So this is now where it's arriving. So it starts down there, comes around the corner and goes up to that point. If I click the green tick and we check out 3D, then we can see that the stair works without any fuss whatsoever. I'll get rid of the railings again because they can be distracting for the purposes of this. So our stair goes in. Now it's going to finish with a riser. That's why we have this sort of step down from that point, and begin with a riser. Okay, if I wanted it to go all the way up, then I'd have to end with a tread, and then we'd have to drag an extra step in. But all I'm trying to show you in this instance is this converting to sketch based system. Okay, so with the steps in, if I then select each individual stair, what I can't do is convert to sketch from this environment. I've got to go back to edit stairs, and then these are 3 individual elements. So I'll select this one, I will control select that one, and at the moment we still get convert to sketch because I've got 2 runs selected, not the landing. So I could leave it like this, but I'll go in and pick the landing as well. So I've got multi-select now. Go back to modify create stair, and then I'll convert these to the sketch, and we get this little warning saying you can't go back, so I'll say okay to that, close that down. Now nothing's changed as far as the stairs go, but if I now wanted to edit this, I've got the edit sketch option, and I can click that, and this gives me my boundary, risers and run down the middle. So I'm going to go back to level 0 because I want to show you what I've been finding out. So for example, if I wanted just to drag this wider, now I can do this in component based, but I'll do that. So I've dragged that. I need to make sure that these runs all line up with the boundary. So I can use this tool, the trim extend multiple, and that's where I want to trim extend to, and I can click and drag across all of these so they all extend out, and then I can say okay, and that works. Okay, I've got a slightly wider run at this point. If I wanted to pick this line, I can't do that. I need to edit the sketch to get this and drag this into the midpoint. If I could. So 250 I want. Doesn't seem to want to know. Let's see if I can do it. There you go. So that should now be 750 and 750. I've got this thing underneath which might be causing a problem, but if I tick that point there, then that's okay with that. Then I can select this, edit the sketch of this, and take this to that point. It might be easier to align it. And then we can say okay to that. So what I'm doing at the moment is just editing these little paths. It's still going up and still coming round, and if I say okay to that and we look at it in 3D, then all we've got is a slightly wider tread at the bottom. So select, that's the shaft selected. We want to select the stair, edit stairs. Let's have another go at playing around with this. So edit sketch, and again I don't need these lines anymore. I'll get rid of those in a second. So I'll go back to level 0, and if I was to create a different boundary shape, so I can delete this one and put in the boundary, so choose boundary, I'll pick this point, I'll go from that end point to this end point, and I'll come in like that, so it's created a curved boundary. Now you couldn't certainly do this straight off the bat with a run, which was a component based run. And then I'm going to trim again using trim extend multiple, so select that and then just click all these, they'll trim to that, and just make sure that this is sorted out, so there to there, there and there, and then click on the tick, and hopefully that would create that. I keep my fingers crossed as I'm doing this. I'm just waiting for it to say it can't make the stair. So in 3D we've now got a stair that does that. Okay, so it's just following the same rules, except we're just changing the sort of shape of this bottom section to create that sort of effect. I'll just finish that off so I can get rid of these lines. Right. So back to the bottom bit of step, edit stairs, and select this bit, edit sketch, and go back to level 0. Now what I was finding was that if I was to drag this in a different direction, I would just get this option, can't make stairs, and I have absolutely no idea why. So can't make stairs, that and that. So if I cancel that out and push this back to say that position, it's nothing to do with this not touching, it is all working, and then do that, it's fine. If I was to edit the sketch and delete that and put another boundary in from that endpoint to that endpoint and trim this out so they all line through and say okay, that's fine. If I was to edit the sketch and drag this point out and stretch this bit to there, so that's all linked, this is all linked, all these are lined up, won't do it. So I have no idea why it doesn't do that. There's no reason why it shouldn't do it, but I'm getting the highlighted 1 and 12, and then this is showing me this, so it's obviously a link between this and that it doesn't like. So if I cancel that and do it the other way around, so it's going from narrow to wider, then it creates it. So there's no rhyme or reason I can see why it does work in some directions and doesn't work in other directions. It's not like these things aren't touching. So that's what happens when you convert a component based to a sketch based. It'll create all these sorts of different shapes, except for ones that for some reason defy logic. Okay, so that's really what I wanted to point out. There are loads and loads of caveats for doing this. I've been looking online at various different websites. The Revit Cat, for example, has got many different blog pages which explain the whys and wherefores and the do's and don'ts for creating sketch-based stairs these days. They are very flexible when you create a sketch-based stair, but they don't tend to behave the way they used to. So hence my confusion in class on that. So that's a method by which you can sort of make a non-standard type of run, and it works with the landing and other elements of the stairs as well, but just be careful with the way you treat it. So this is now slightly more interesting. If we take this step and we say multi-story top level and say we go up to level 2 and apply, then it takes that exact stair and repeats it. So whatever I've done with this one, I get on that one as well. Let's take it up to level 3, why not? And apply that. So that's going all the way up to the roof now. Bang your head at that point. Okay, so that's going to end that short video, just to explain about the process of sketch-based stairs. I guess if you are going to create a fancy stair, then when you create it, it's this option. Okay, but when you do create a sketch-based stair, so let's just go one more time into this. So select that, edit stairs, let's select this bit, and then edit sketch, and go to the floor plan. We have to consider a few things. Oh, that's interesting, that didn't go all the way to the edge there. Or there, but anyway. I think I have seen end treads coming around, so it may not be too much of an issue, but when you create sketch-based things, the boundary has to run from one edge to the other edge, really. The risers have to go all the way across from side to side, and this thing, the run, has to go from one end to another. Okay, so those are the three sort of things you need to bear in mind when you create these types of step. So that really is it now. Okay.